If people's behaviors just showed up out of nowhere, popped up at random, there wouldn't be any point in trying to study why people do what they do. There'd be no way to understand where their behavior came from, no way to control when any particular behavior showed up, no way to change their behavior, no way to put their behavior to good use. The fundamental assumption that learning researchers make about behavior then is that some changes in behavior, the ones we're going to call learning, are predictable. From what? From the orderliness of our environments.
Well, psychology is a science. And the study of learning, which has been part of the field of psychology for way over 100 years, is a science too. All sciences are about behavior. They just focus on the behaviors of different things, and in particular, how that behavior might be used to solve problems. In physics, just as an example, problems having to do with how matter moves. In fluid dynamics, problems having to do with fluids and gases getting where you want them to go and doing what you want them to do. In psychology, problems that have to do with changing an organism's behavior. The key to solving problems is knowing how to make stuff do what you want it to do. That means identifying forces or properties or characteristics that might change how stuff works. Sciences then come up with rules that describe the effects of those characteristics based on what is, arguably, the cornerstone of science: research. In science, research ideally involves objective, repeatable, unbiased procedures we'll cover in later videos, that spit out verifiable facts. And those facts describe ways in which the world is predictable. Describe ways in which differences in some property or characteristic are related to differences in behavior. And that allows sciences to come up with laws or principles or tenets or rules that describe the ways in which forces predictably impact stuff. Sifting through all that predictability and organizing what you know into theories that explain why predictability happens will then make it possible to find predictability in new places.
Due to high stress, surface projections go through plastic deformation, which allows adhesive bonds to form among them. These bonds are responsible for the adhesive friction.
When temperature goes up, the speed of the molecules in a liquid also goes up, and they spend less time in contact with nearby molecules. So as temperature increases, intermolecular forces decrease. Know what I mean?
Pairings of stimuli cause the brain regions associated with each stimulus to become connected, so that an appearance of the first stimulus can trigger the brain region for the second stimulus to generate the behaviors it automatically triggers, even without the second stimulus present. So, any field of study isn't a science until somebody finds facts about the predictability of behavior. If there were no predictability, no order, things would just happen. You couldn't explain why they happened. You wouldn't know when they'll happen. And you couldn't control them. What each of the different fields within this big, broad science of psychology does is study, using pretty much anything with a nervous system, the predictability of some particular kind of behavior, or some particular kind of reason that any behavior would be predictable. So what about the field of learning? We just covered this, so this is going to be an obvious question. In broad strokes, what's involved in the scientific process? And what's the point of using it? Well, this video didn't cover all that much, so this summary is going to be kind of brief and, I hope, familiar. But here's at least one way of putting it. The scientific process establishes facts about the predictability of behaviors involved in a field of study and organizes those facts into theories. The main goal usually being to identify the causal relationships between various forces and behavior. In broad strokes, what's involved in the scientific process? And what's the point of using it? The scientific process involves identifying the forces at work in the behavior of whatever's relevant to the science, figuring out how changes in those forces relate to changes in behavior, and coming up with theories to explain the facts that have come out of this process. And just to toss in a little something extra, the ultimate objective is to be able to predict, explain, and control the phenomena that are relevant to the science. You know, being able to sum up these videos in a simple statement or two without just listing the topics that were covered is a good sign that you understand them. So how might you sum up the substance of this video? What it says about psychology? Here's a summary that just lists what was covered. Yep, that was the topic. But it would certainly be possible to convey a whole lot more information. For example, that summary begs the question, so why is psychology a science? So how would you summarize an answer to that question? How about something like psychology uses the same process as other sciences to establish a body of facts about why people do what they do?